It's really just come from my own experiences going through with loved ones and friends and family passing, and just that feeling of being stuck in a place together, dreading something, but also having these turning points of where you want people to be out of their pain, and then the different roles we try to find for ourselves in that during that time. So I usually wake up pretty early. I go out with a kind of little sketch notepad and I'm writing random different ideas, and then sometimes it turns out that all these random ideas are one story. In this case, the kind of different stories wound up being represented by these different sisters, and I could realize like, oh, if they're coming and they really are coming from different places and are different people, this could all be happen in one situation. In this type of situation, could be forced together. So it it wasn't by design. It just felt, and then at some point, I also knew that I wanted to work with these particular actors, and so that was very much something on my mind as well when I was writing. I wrote the script. I wrote them and told them that I had written something with them in mind, but it wasn't just the three of them. I also, for Carrie Coon and Natasha Lyonne and Elizabeth Olsen, but also Giovanna Depo, all people that either I'd worked with or had a relationship with in some way. Um, and that I had written with them in mind, which I know is like a tricky thing because I don't think actors generally like to hear that so much. But in this case, these were things. It was not so much based on them, but just in terms of characters, I could see them having fun with. And then when I reached out to them, told them a little bit about what the premise was, telling them that it was a personal story, and would they be up for reading it, printed it out because I wanted them to get a hard copy of it. I wanted it to be something that almost set the tone of the type of off the grid film that I wanted to make, and with also with the promise that I would be shooting on a real location in New York City and on film, just to again to like let them know that this would be hopefully out of the ordinary in a good way. I spent a previous 22 years in Los Angeles, and I had a great time living in LA, and I felt like I feel very in debt to what LA's allowed me to do and become as a filmmaker, because I didn't know how to become a filmmaker in New York City. It just wasn't. I didn't know how you could balance out rent and the type of films that I want to make. And when I moved to LA, it was the rent was cheap enough that I could do that and kind of keep that as a priority. But returning to New York these past couple of years, it really was a difference in terms of other times where I visited and would just say, "Oh, that's gone. That store's gone. That's changed." This was much more a sense of like, "Oh, that's still standing. That's still remaining," and it's I deeply deeply love the place, and I feel like to to live in New York, you have to care for people. I can only imagine for young filmmakers or any young people moving to LA what a difference it was. But it was an amazing blessing to get. I got to there in '99 to the east side of LA, and it just really was welcoming. I really like yesterday was the premiere of this, and the way I'm not somebody that can just I have ideas, and again, like then the way that this began, where it's just kind of random ideas. I hope that there's a connection between them. So it's like me just writing down random notes that either will turn into something, hopefully will turn into something, but I can't say at this point. But for me, just the experience of being able to make the film, come to Toronto, have a world premiere in front of a live audience, even though it's missing this crucial actors. Uh, it's just been it's such a needed part of the process. So it still feels like I'm making the film at this point. I hope that it's a cathartic experience, that they laugh and that it moves them, and that they realize these kind of strange things that happen in this situation, these end of life situations, is yes, they're very strange, and the way that time moves and the way that we can connect and disconnect with our family is is traumatic, and at the same time that it is something in the best case scenario we get to go through. We get to outlive our folks, and I'm hoping that this is something where people walk away ultimately with some kind of sense of feeling less alone.